Well, hello, Cam.
Good evening.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm all right. What do we got up? What do we got going on tonight?
Oh, well, I got somebody here. We're gonna bring on right away. Um, and after I do the shameless plug here. But we've got Dying Breed Tabletop, Kyle from Nerd Cognito. He's basically he's Ryan's co-host, kind of like you are mine. That's what he is with Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
David on Nerd Cognito, exclusively on Rumble. We should be on both Rumble and YouTube on the Tennessee Tabletop Tavern channel, and we're also on the Sci-Fi for Me channel. So he's going to be first up, and as soon as we get our other guest, he's going to join us too, and that would be Paul, aka Flint Fireforge. So hopefully we'll have a great discussion. Let me do this shameless plug. I didn't replace the video. Tomorrow, Monday, not the 12th, but I didn't get the new graphic yet. Hopefully we're gonna see if we survive yet again, because I survived this game here on this on the
Unexpectedly,
12th.
right?
Yeah, yeah. He threw a vampire and some thralls at us, and we just happened to have a whole bunch of followers, that were with us, and some other stuff.
Let me guess. You could run faster than the followers. Is that?
Well, no, our followers managed to kill all the thralls,
Ah,
and then we all critted the vampire. So we basically took him down pretty quick, and he's like, "Well, damn, okay, I'm gonna have to try again next week." So, but I know we're basically in the wrap up phase of that Shadow Rim game, which of course is by Greg Christopher, Chubby Funster. And yeah, if you haven't picked it up, it's really good. It does not require the Shadow Dark book. Um, it is based off of Shadow Dark. So, but he's got a bunch of books out. So at some point we'll probably get him on too. And then I would be remiss if I didn't mention this coming up on January 28th, Wednesday, at a special time, 8 o'clock p.m. We are going to have Peter Jurasik on our Babylon 5 retrospective, which normally is just shown on Sci-Fi Snob's channel, but in this case, I think
multicast.
we're gonna multicast it. So you'll be able to tune in here. You'll be able to tune in on Snob and on Sci-Fi for Me TV. And I think Madman said he's going to cast it later on as a video.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So any rate, but it's going to be multicast. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring our first guest on. And we're going to go ahead and I've got this one here.
Hey, here I am.
So,
how are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I see you got the Nerd Cognito shirt on.
Well, yeah, man, I got to represent the brand,
Yeah,
right?
you
I was like, I was going through the closet. I was like, okay, which T-shirt? I was like, oh well, I have
Might
to
as
wear
well.
this one. I have to. I was gonna wear my Conan T-shirt, but I was like, hey, I got to wear this one.
Yeah. I'm wearing my my Secrets of Blackmore, the Killer DM shirt.
The Killer DM shirt. I've got one of his shirts too, but it's
Yeah.
the old school, the hand drawn map on it. Have you seen that one?
Oh no, I need to get that one. I wanted one because I ordered the oh, this book.
Hey Jeff, sorry to cut in real quick. Nerd Cognito
Yeah.
on Twitter is asking for the Rumble link. If we could get that.
Oh, Ryan is?
Yep.
Well, Nerd Cognito is. I don't know who's running it right now. There's a couple of hands that could be running it. It might be him, or it could be
Nerd
could
Cognito
be somebody else
on X.
The Rumble link. Let me get that, because Rumble's a little weird. I can't even search for my own channel.
I can get it. I'll get it to him.
Yeah. Because absolutely. Oh yeah, well, it could be Shaban.
Yeah, she's got some.
She's pretty.
She's got some administrator privileges and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. You can't even find your own channel. I can't find your channel either. That's really crazy.
Yeah.
Don't I sub to you? I know
you
I subbed.
might.
I know I do. When I found out you had a Rumble channel, I know I subbed. I just gotta see which one it is.
Here. I'll drop in the private chat here.
You got it? Okay.
K. Roberts is said in on the Tennessee Tabletop Tavern. It says, funny how Geek and Thunder isn't around to champion the tabletop renaissance. Strange how their woke shows let it slip through their grasp.
Amazing, isn't it?
I don't follow you. I swore I did. Okay.
Did you find it?
Yeah, I found it.
Yeah, it's quirky. I don't know why it won't show me. I tried searching myself many different ways, and I can't find myself.
I'm trying to find myself.
It's a very metaphysical type of thing, right?
I was going to say a little meditation, some crystals, you'll be fine.
Okay, let's see if I can get it in respond to him there. Okay, looks like it. Okay, sorry for that. Yeah, there we go.
I was getting ready to. That's fine. I'll let you do it. It's your show.
I think that'll work. That gets you to your channel at least. So, yeah, and then it shows up. So yeah, there we go. Okay, great. All right, sorry about that. Well, Jeff, you want any more on the intro? Sorry.
You're muted. I can't hear him.
Yeah, I can't either.
You're muted, or we can't hear you. Something happened.
Yeah, I hit the mute button because I coughed. All good now. All right. Hail, Nerd Cognito.
You also said just send him a studio link.
Yeah, I could.
There you go.
We could have.
He might show up. He might show up. I don't know what he's got going on tonight. We were talking earlier.
Kyle has the link. I mean, depending on how late Flint's going to be, we plan on having 4 of us here anyways.
Well, let's just can I jump right into the
absolutely. Go ahead and ask your
okay. I'm very standard and very boring, but I enjoy this question. So I would like our guest to tell us a little bit about how you got into role playing in the first place, your origin story.
My origin story, my backstory.
Yep.
Is it 12 pages?
No. Well, it's. I mean, I'm 55 years old, so it probably is actually. Yeah. But how I got into role playing games was I was born in a very small town and grew up down a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, Missouri, right? And northern Missouri, so I wasn't quite a hillbilly. I was somewhere between a hillbilly, white trash, and redneck, somewhere in that area, right? And I was always kind of an odd kid. I was the guy, everybody else was farming and pickup trucks and dirt track racing and just the stereotypical things, that you think of. I mean, it was Footloose with dancing. I mean, it was small town kind of thing, tractors and all that. And that's my roots. I still love that sort of stuff, but I would like to read. And I loved speculative fiction, like science fiction and fantasy and horror. And my first exposure on TV to a lot of things, it was, I was watching the old black and white Godzilla movies and stuff. And this is back when TV had like 3 channels, right? And Fox wasn't even around back then. And very isolated. And so I was kind of living in my own head as a child. My parents got divorced when I was young, and a lot of people have heard this story. You guys are going to get an exclusive. I'm going to give you a little insight into my mother, who had a lot of issues. She had more issues than Sports Illustrated. She's no longer with us, but she kidnapped me and my brother and hauled ass down to Dallas, Texas. And my father spent a significant amount of money in a couple of years trying to find us. But in the meantime, down in Texas, I was enrolled into the Dallas school system, or the suburbs. It was a suburb of that. It was not a good suburb. It was a very low income, high crime area. And being the reader I was, we actually, oh my God, an actual real library where there was more than just these small town libraries. There was a lot of different options. And I discovered my mother tried to get me to read A Wrinkle in Time. And I did read it. But being as young as I was, there's some concepts in there with the Tesseract and stuff that I didn't grasp. It was a little bit beyond me. It was a little too scientific for me, I guess, at that age. But then she was like, well, maybe you would like this one. And she handed me a book called The Hobbit. So for all my mother's faults, it's really began with her. And I read The Hobbit and absolutely fell in love with it. And then after I read The Hobbit, the librarian was like, well, you might like this too. It's a little more advanced reading level. But I was already in advanced reading stage in my life. And I was like, wait, there's more? And she said, yeah, it's The Lord of the Rings. And there's 3 books. And they were all as big as The Hobbit, right? I'm like, oh my God, I'm in heaven,
Right.
This little 9-10-year-old guy loving this, eating it up. Devoured Lord of the Rings. Tried the Silmarillion. And it's kind of like reading numbers in the Old Testament. It's just lists of stuff. And it's
so-and-so begat so-and-so begat so-and-so.
Right. And this many tribes and this many people and they, and all this. But later on is when I had the appreciation for the Silmarillion. But so I loved Lord of the Rings. I loved Tolkien, right? And I didn't even know about Conan. I didn't know about any of these other things at this time. So then we moved. My mother, she had a kind of a, I don't know what other word to use because I'm old, but a gypsy spirit.
Yeah.
And also she had, usually after 6 months, she'd have creditors and collectors and lawyers looking for her. So we had a tendency to move about every 6 months and relocate. And we moved to a new school district there, just in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And never had a bunch of friends. Did I lose guys? Hello? I think we lost people here.
I'm here.
Okay. I saw Jeff's gone. Maybe.
No,
anyway,
I'm here.
I just didn't want to keep talking if you guys were.
No.
So I never had a lot of friends because I was a little bit odd, and even in Texas, because down there there's like God, family, and football. I mean, the big 3. And I wasn't a football guy. I was not an athletic child. And I met these 2 guys, and for the life of me, I cannot remember their names. I have no idea. I can see their faces. I cannot remember their names. And they were like, oh, you like Lord of the Rings? And yeah, it's cool as hell. Well, we talked about Lord of the Rings for a while, and then one of them goes, well, my brother, have you ever heard of Dungeons and Dragons? And I'm like, no. What is this? He was like, well, it's a role-playing game. And I said, I don't know what that means. Essentially, I mean, I whatever I said is 9 years old, but that was essentially the thing. I didn't know what that meant. And he's like, well, come over to my house on Saturday. My brother's going to run this game and we're going to play. And so I came over, and this was a, small town Midwest Missouri guy. And here's this completely revolutionary game style. Right. Sort of open-ended. You're creating a character. You're making your choices. Your choices are not limited by rules of like, you roll the dice and you move 6 steps or 3 steps or whatever it is. And, do not pass go, do not collect $200 kind of stuff. And so that part was fascinating. But the part that really was even more fascinating was the sort of nod to Tolkien. And you can see it in a lot of the old school rules, the elves, the dwarves, the halflings, rangers in AD&D are direct Strider ripoff, Aragorn ripoff, and that sort of thing. I fell in love with this game at that time. It was absolutely magical to me. And I've really kind of been a fan of it ever since. And that's essentially the story. It helped matters that we walked to school, and it was about a mile, and about halfway to the school, there was a wargaming shop. Because back then there were some comic shops. Comics and wargaming were kind of separated, and role-playing games hadn't really found its place yet. So the wargaming store was carrying some D&D stuff, and I think it was just simply because of Gygax and others' connections to war games originally. The comic book shops, you couldn't find a D&D book in there for anything.
Right.
What year was this?
This would have been 1979, late 1979.
Okay.
Winter.
Right when the AD&D, well, the first edition AD&D stuff finished. I think 79 was the DMG, right?
The DMG came out. It's got an 80 copyright on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it came out very early in 80 because I remember when it came out because I bought it.
Okay. Was AD&D the first one you played, or did you play BX or
AD&D was my very first game I ever played because the kid's brother was like 4 years older than him, so he was in that 14 to 16 range, somewhere right around there. I don't remember the exact age. So he was a little bit more mature. And I think a lot of it too was simply the fact that you got a bunch of young guys and it's like, well, why do we want to play basic D&D when there's advanced D&D?
Yeah.
We didn't understand really
expert,
what the distinction. Yeah, we didn't understand what the distinction was at that time. We were thinking that they're the same game, but one's just basic, but this one's advanced,
Yeah.
And
now that I think about it, that was even Moldvay Basic came out in 81, so this would have been the Blue Box Basic.
This would have been Holmes Basic.
Yeah, right.
Holmes Basic, and Holmes Basic was actually, looking back now, I didn't know this then, but a few years later, I figured kind of how all this family tree of D&D worked, and it was originally designed as a basic introduction, levels 1 through 3. And then once you move beyond third level, the intent was, and it says this specifically in the book, to move to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Sure.
And so BX, Moldvay kind of split it off. And that's kind of that little split that confuses a lot of people. So now you got basic and advanced, and Holmes was kind of a hybrid of the two. And then, of course, you got OD&D, which spawned it all. So.
Yeah, I have to admit that I started with Moldvay, and it did confuse me at first. It's like, well, why are these, not quite the same? But
there's some minor differences, some mechanical.
We lost him. He'll be back.
Okay. Yeah, that's always well. I like to hear where someone came in and that issue about. There we are. I'll let you go back into it. We were just you were about to say about the differences between basic.
I mean, there's some different, and the 2-hit matrix, the tables for rolling to hit, there's some minor differences there. I'm trying to remember exactly how Moldvay did armor class because it was different than how Holmes did it. It was like off one number.
Right. Yeah. It started at 9, I think.
Right.
In basic and advanced, I think was 10.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that's
I mean, that's the shortest version I can give you. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jeff, do you want to get into the rest of the main topic, or do you want to go a little deeper into where we went from there?
Well, so I got a couple of things in the mail today.
Okay.
And this was one of them.
Ah, nice.
Oh, nice.
Now they're smaller than I expected.
Oh, those are the leather bound ones, eh?
Yeah. They're nice. I mean, they weren't expensive either. They were like $35. That's inside cover art.
Okay, yeah.
Got so maps. I may need my to read it.
Well, you got good glasses, right?
Yeah, I've got progressive lenses. I'm old. If you saw my, but I'm like, he was talking about the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, yeah. So,
Jeff, I know that you are deficient in your Dragonlance knowledge up until recently, but were you a Tolkien reader back in the day, or was this new to you as well?
So my introduction to Tolkien was in, I want to say, 2nd grade.
Okay.
And you remember, we're all old enough. You remember the film strip projectors?
Oh yeah.
That had the cassette player built into it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember those?
Yep.
And when you'd hear the little beep, it would auto advance to the next. So the first time I ever saw The Hobbit was on a film strip in 2nd grade.
Oh, the old The old animated.
It was taken from it was
Rankin and Bass.
It was the Rankin and Bass that was just they took individual frames from it and then did the audio for it. So it was kind of cool. So that was my introduction. I have not read them, literally read them. I've got all the the extended editions on that. I love the lore and stuff. Been picking up a bunch of books. Been trying to. Of course, I am in the process of reading Dragonlance Chronicles. I did pick up that. That was a pretty good deal too. I got this a couple months ago.
The first 3 Dragonlance books are really, really good. I
remember
when those came. Yeah, I remember when those came out, and I read those. So I would have been. What year did those come out? 82,
I think 82 or 80. Yeah.
So I was like 12, 13, right around then, and that was really the first, what I would call a D&D series of novels for entertainment purposes, right? Really, that really, I think there were ones before, but this is the one that made it big. This is one that really
84.
put that sort of
84.
That really put
84,
that.
I'm not sure
really
there were
on the map.
There might have been Choose Your Own Adventures before that, but I think Dragonlance was the first actual non Choose Your Own Adventure novel. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
my knowledge of the fiction is a little lacking, honestly, because I tended to focus more on the game. But I loved Dragonlance, and it was great. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't go much past the first 3. What was the next series? The one where it was just about the 2 brothers.
Yeah, Dragonlance Legends.
I did. I remember I read those. They didn't stick with me like that first one did. That first one had that epic, struggle of good versus evil, saving the world kind of vibe going on. And I guess that was probably in the second one too. But I mean, it's the traditional Dungeons and Dragons party, and you had all the stuff, and you had the evil and dragons have returned, and it's in the name, Dungeons and Dragons. So why not?
And I had a bulletin board back in the day when I was a teenager, and one of the guys that I met on that, he actually went by, just like we've got eventually. I think Flint Fireforge is going to join us at some point here, but he was using the handle Raceland, and so I knew that was related to Dragonlance, but that was the only character I knew of. And so when I started reading this, and then I discovered that Flint Fireforge was one of the characters in it too.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
I
you
knew
didn't tell me that.
I knew that name immediately whenever I first saw the guy, Paul, who I later found out Paul Flint Fireforge. I was like, oh, a Dragonlance fan. I see. A man of culture. I see.
See, he's missing the conversation now, man. His wife's got him at running late at some event, so that's where he's at. He said, I'm going to try and slip away as soon as I can. It was the last thing I heard from him. So
that's all right.
But anyway,
well, do you want to dive into the Golden Age topic, or do you want to wait a little bit? I mean, we can come back around to him when he shows up. I mean,
well, Kyle mentioned something that kind of made me think. He said the saving the world thing, and you kind of wonder is that's great for a reading story, but when it comes to actually playing,
right,
does it not get overplayed a lot? It seems like every adventure that WotC's put out is about, oh my God, it's the end of the world, and if you don't do something, everything's gonna,
mm-hmm.
and really, all they say all politics are local. I think all adventures should focus local for especially at low levels. You're not your first level player or your first level character. You're not out to save the world. You're out to.
Nor could you if you wanted.
Right. You get stomped.
Yeah, your 4 hit points don't last long, there, buddy.
Hey, I was the last to die in that game.
It depends on how you do it. I mean, you go back to Tolkien. A couple of hobbits, 4 hobbits leave the Shire. They end up saving the world, right?
Yeah, but they had help from a lot of from some high level characters.
Exactly. Right. You know? So I mean, it is possible, but I do think it's overplayed. I think it's way overplayed. And I think it lends to this sort of superhero culture that everybody expects out of modern role-playing games now. It's like, well, if we're going to save the world, we can't be the starting level guys. We can't be the nobodies. We have to already be heroes in order for this to be a thing, right?
And the whole 12-page backstory. And
right. And so there's an unspoken assumption already built into it simply because you're going on some sort of epic struggle between good and evil and saving the world. And so it's almost built into the premise that's almost kind of how you have to do it if you're going to see this thing through and create this grand and epic story. Early D&D and a lot of the OSR, and later on I did discover Robert E. Howard and Conan. It's closer to something like that, right? Or it's even more than that. It's probably closer to Dying Earth, Jack Vance, which, as anybody knows, was a huge influence on Gary Gygax, and how he, especially some of the mechanics he put into the game.
Vancian magic,
Vancian magic, and then the name Vecna that everybody knows now because of Stranger Things is an anagram of Vance and stuff like that. But where you start off as, well, at first level, you're not really a nobody. It says on the chart, a fighter is a veteran. I mean, you've seen some action, right? Whether you were a conscript in the King's army and you've been on a battlefield a couple of times or something like that, but you've got a little bit of experience. You're not just a dirt farmer.
Right.
But you're not a hero either. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they distinguish the man at arms is a 0 level character, right? He's not even a fighter,
right.
First level fighter.
Right. So, I mean, that's, and even the first level of magic user, it's like you just got out of apprenticeship and now, so it's like the wizard's apprentice, the sorcerer's apprentice kind of thing.
Right.
So, right. But and then you have to work your way up. You have to earn it. You have to earn that herohood. And I think there's power in that because it's a little bit more reflective of, and I know this gets overused too, but that Campbellian myth, of the hero's journey.
Yeah.
To become the hero. And he starts from, sparse beginnings, and later he winds up becoming the hero that the world needs and deserves. And there's power in that. It speaks more to the human soul. The epic struggle between good and evil speaks to us on a grand scale. That journey of the hero, the starting from nothing and earning it, speaks to us on a more personal level, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And another thing that, again, like that, when you started personally for me, like when I played role-playing games or video games or whatever, it's like well, I'll call it the illusion of accomplishment, because obviously you're not accomplishing anything in the world, the real world, but you get the same psychological effect, right? It's like, oh, I've accomplished that. I'm now level 2, I survived this, or I made it through that dungeon, whatever. That's something that is a strong sense for me. I enjoy that kind of thing, but I imagine a lot of other people do as well.
Yeah, and I think also, given, I think I was just born in a fortuitous time, and a lot of things happened that came together to introduce me to this hobby. And one of the things that I think was powerful for me, looking back now as I'm much more mature, was seeing that in a way I was starting my journey of life the same time I discovered this game where you're starting off as a level 1 guy. Right. And so there's this sort of weird parallel where I can look back on my life, and though my memory fails me now because of age, but I can point out certain things or events that happened that I would say, okay, I grew from that, or I learned something from that, or this made me a better person, or this, I failed here and I became a worse person, and then I tried to correct it later and do better. Those sorts of things. And in a sense, isn't that kind of leveling up?
Yeah. In real life.
In a way. Yeah. And
you don't start off in life. Your first job isn't CEO. of a of a multi-billion-dollar company. Your first job is, the busboy or the dishwasher, or the waiter,
or
waitress, whatever.
you're toasting buns in the back of the McDonald's where nobody
Yeah,
can see
or
you.
we're working the fry basket. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're doing something, and eventually, you advance. And that's one of the things why, like with some of the stuff going on where people are like, oh, I should make this living wage working at a McDonald's, and it's like, well, if you're in management, yeah, but you need to advance. You're not
You
going to
get
be the fry guy for 20 years and
you get the
retire.
coppers. You get the coppers first, and then you go up to the
Yeah.
silvers, and then the gold.
Yeah. The fry guy that's making $80K a year.
Right. I'm like,
know.
what kind of, that makes no sense. It's like, oh, and
Can't
no wonder.
understand why the small order fries is $12.50. I don't get
Yeah,
it.
and the cheeseburger is $22, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Well, let me ask you. So you started with Advanced D&D. How long did you stick with that, or did you go on to second edition and third edition or anything, or did you just stay with AD&D?
So I started with AD&D. Those are the books I bought. That's almost exclusively what I ran up through Ravenloft, Dragonlance, a lot of the big kind of seminal products that came out that really shaped this hobby in a lot of ways and kind of steered the direction in certain ways. Sure. I remember there's a little event that happened. A friend of mine that I met later in life, he was the BX guy. He had, and he wasn't even the Red Box Homes. It was the Beck Meat stuff.
Right.
That's what he was into. And so we played a lot of that. I was introduced to that. I had my issues with it because at that time I was kind of the snob that was still stuck in that, oh, well, it's not advanced D&D.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was young and didn't realize. Looking back on it now, I actually prefer that simpler system. I think it's better in some aspects.
There's something to say for the dead alewives in there.
Yeah. And then I discovered other games that came out. Sandy Peterson put out Call of Cthulhu in that time, which introduced me to the world of Lovecraft, who I had never heard of before. I'd heard of Poe, and I loved horror, and I loved some of the old classic horror writings, and I loved Universal Monsters and the Hammer horror films, but I'd never heard of Lovecraft. That was an introduction to Lovecraft. That one hooked me immediately. When I bought that box set and I got into that big and bad. Traveler was a big one. And of course, the other TSR products, Boot Hill, Gamma World, Top Secret, all these different things. I was all into it. But then there was an event that happened in the 80s, and some of you might have heard of it. It was called the Satanic Panic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And being in a small town, Midwest, my parents were separated. My father had found us at that time. I was living with my father. And they bought into this idea that this was an entryway into the world of the occult and Satanism, to put it in brief terms. And
Satanic Panic.
There was a lot of stuff that happened, but all my stuff was burned.
Oh man!
While I watched, and then they brought in a cult deprogrammer.
Wow!
And it was a pretty big thing for me. And I know a lot of people it didn't affect that way. But I have some serious stuff that happened to me out of the Satanic Panic. So a lot of people kind of laugh about it and make jokes. And looking back on it, it was kind of silly and it was kind of stupid. But I mean, there are people that bought into it, and there are people that still believe it today. Not to the extent, that it really took over society. I mean, Phil Donahue, the old talk show guy, that was he was the guy that basically, if it hadn't been for him, Oprah wouldn't have been a thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, because Phil Donahue's, that's real old.
I remember growing up in the 70s watching Donahue. Mom always had it on when she was home, and
that's
my mom too.
It was like a tame version of Jerry.
Because it came on right before the soap operas, right?
It was
after the soap opera, something.
It was. I think it was right after. It was usually mid-afternoon. I think is when it was on. It was like 2 or 3 or something like that. But anyway, they did stuff on it. 60 Minutes did their stuff on it. It was all over the news media. So everything was burned, essentially, right? So I'm around that 15 to 16 years age, right in here, if memory serves. And I was forced basically to give it up. I had to stop playing in order to appease my parents. I couldn't recoup any of that stuff. I couldn't go back and buy things. And I had stuff that I don't even know if you could get it anymore. Somebody's got it out there, but they're not selling it, right?
Yeah.
I had like original box set of Sky Realms of Jaroon, if you've ever heard of that game.
No.
It's a pretty obscure one. It was system wise, it was damn near unplayable, but the setting was amazing. It was far future science fantasy / fiction. Yeah, it was almost like Avatar, but before James Cameron would get a hold of it.
Sure.
It was kind of this it was this distant planet, and there's these two other races, and they're more in tune with the natural elements of that planet, and it was very mystical. And then humans are introduced later. Okay. And they wind up having to basically, they're fleeing a dying Earth, and they wind up on this planet, which can support human life. And then thousands of years later, you've got basically these three factions, three races, and they're sometimes working together, sometimes in conflict, sometimes at odds. And it's this blending of this sort of mystical science fantasy with hardcore science fiction. It was a really interesting setting, very interesting setting.
Yeah. So it sounds, they didn't make any discernment between, let's say, Boot Hill or Top Secret? Did they get everything all together, all role playing?
You know what? They didn't. There was a couple of things they didn't get. My parents being divorced, a few things were still at my mother's house. And that was the old Steve Jackson pocketbook, the little black plastic case. I had the Illuminati card game.
Okay.
Which really isn't an RPG, but I loved that game because I liked this idea of these conspiracies and stuff, and it was done in a very humorous way. And then the other thing, and it was odd, but my parents didn't see a problem with Car Wars, which is actually kind of more of a war game kind of thing with the little counters and stuff, because it's cars, and we're in the Midwest, and they like dirt track racing, right? We watched the Dukes of Hazzard, Car Wars. Okay, sure. That's cool. That's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. They're just playing with cars. But Top Secret got burned. Boot Hill got burned.
All the stuff, anything that was role playing, they
burned all my books too. I begged and pleaded for them not to burn my Tolkien books.
Oh man,
Tolkien. And they didn't. And they didn't. They backed down on that one when they did find out that Tolkien was
a Christian.
He was a very Christian man.
Yeah. C.S. Lewis was it? Because
the Inklings.
C.S. Lewis were friends.
Yep. Yeah, the Inklings, the society they were in.
Yeah. Davina's got a question that we should address because that goes to the heart of the main topic. What does old school really mean? And Kyle, what would you define as being old school?
That's a loaded question.
I know.
Can you? Well, there's.
I think it's a philosophy myself.
I'm going to take a drink.
Okay.
Yeah, bolster yourself. This one goes deep.
This
is a deep question. Yeah.
It wasn't for the alcohol. I needed to moisten my throat.
Okay.
Because I've been doing some talking. So. There's actually two different approaches to this. You can take a very hardcore, strict approach and say OSR is a design school, because that's what it is. The old school Renaissance happened because you couldn't get basic BX D&D in print anymore unless you were going to pay high prices on a secondary market. So when the OGL was originally released, people realized, hey, we can actually. Osric is a great example. That was the groundbreaker, because originally the OGL was intended for third parties to be able to produce content for these games. Mm-hmm. But then someone figured out the way and then someone figured out that, wait a minute, the way this is worded legally, if we take all the trademark stuff out, we can reprint Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
And make money on it. We can sell it. And that's what they did. And so ultimately, and to get to the point here of your question, a very strict answer to that is, it is a design school where It is founded on the foundations are basic expert rules of D&D, and it is an expansion or a slight modification to that, but it is essentially compatible with every other OSR product because they're all based on the same system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even though I was going to say, even though AD&D and D&D are different systems, they are largely compatible. It's not much work you have to do to go between them for things like
they're
monsters.
95 to 90. Yeah, they're 95 to 99% compatible.
Yep.
Which I could diverge here onto something else, but I won't do it. But anyway, so there's that take on the OSR, and if you listen to RPG Pundit, that's his take on the OSR. He's right. I mean, he's not wrong about
this guy?
That statement that is what the OSR is. But over time, like anything, the meanings of words and definitions of things have a tendency to evolve or change. Mm-hmm. And it has done so. And now it's more akin to what Jeff said, where it's a lot of people see it as a philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So while I would argue that is technically not true, I understand where that sentiment comes from. And I don't try to argue with it because I think it's just, at the end of the day, you're just kind of, it's a pointless endeavor, right?
Yeah. Well,
and a good example is Shadow Dark, when you talked about with Chubby Funster doing the Shadow Rim thing. It's a 5e system. It's a modern system. I own it too. It's a great game.
Yeah.
But it's a 5e game. It's just stripped and it's house ruled and it's modified. And then Kelsey did an amazing job on putting that product out there. But it does have a very OSR feel. It has that sort of classic gaming old school feel, right? Because it really leans into the resource management. And yes, there's encumbrance and there's a lot of the things that get overlooked now. So it's a move of taking the modern game from this sort of we must be superheroes and pulling that back down to the core roots of you're starting off at low levels. You're maybe not quite nobody, but you're like a shift manager, right? At the McDonald's. You're not the fry cook. You're the shift manager, right? And you're going to be working your way up from there. And so I think the OSR philosophy is fine as long as people do understand that originally it arose strictly out of a design school about rules.
Yeah, and that's a good distinction because, like you said, someone in the chat here was saying about, before 3rd edition D&D, you could say, well, that rule set is essentially the same, and mechanically, you could say, well, that's old school. And then you can see things that come afterwards, 3rd, 4th, etc. You could say is not old school. But you just mentioned, the criteria being it's not just the mechanics; it could also be the feel and the style that goes with it. And maybe that's more towards what Jeff was saying with the philosophy.
Yeah.
That's more of a 2026 definition. I think 5 years ago, if you'd asked me what the old school was, I would have agreed with RPG Pundit, and that'd been the end of the discussion.
Sure.
Yeah.
And honestly, what really, and Axe, let's put it that way. Axe is basically, it's an OSR product because it's 99% compatible with basic expert rules, right?
Yeah.
So McCrease is doing that with the Adventure of Conquer King system.
Get one of his books up here too.
I got his Arbiter of Worlds book. I don't have his games, but his games
are. I got back here. Yeah.
I've got PDFs. I don't have the hard copies. But Kelsey was the one that really, with Shadow Dark, that's really the one that made me go, you know what? Maybe the kids have something right. Maybe there is something to this sort of old school philosophy. That has value, and it's worth recognizing.
Well, I mean, Traveler could be considered old school. It's maybe not an old school game, but it is an old school game.
That's the perfect distinction. It's an old school game, but it's not an OSR game.
Right. And GM Bloodworth, I don't know if you know Richard or not, but he makes an emphatic. And Ultra is actually on with him right now, but he's watching our show too. But he makes a very big point about distinguishing that there is a difference between old school Renaissance and old school Revival. Even he doesn't even consider those two to be the same thing. Renaissance and a revival are not the same thing. A revival would be like what you're talking about, where you're bringing back, you're reviving the BX or the second edition or the first edition or whatever. That's a revival of that stuff coming back into vogue of playing. Whereas a Renaissance is like, the world kind of opens up. And
it's the age of enlightenment where there's
right.
You advance knowledge and you spider web off of that knowledge and into other things. And I get what you're saying. Yeah,
Shadow Dark would be more of a Renaissance type of thing, whereas, well, like you said, Axe or RPG Pundit stuff.
I mean,
is more of a revival.
At the end of the day, though, I mean, you can. And technically, that's true. I mean, going by the strict definitions of the words, yes, revival and Renaissance are not the same thing.
Right.
I can't deny that. There's no way you can.
I think they work in concert together, though. I think that there's a lot of Cam is fond of Venn diagrams, right? so I think there's a Venn diagram of Renaissance and revival with regards to tabletop gaming. There's probably a good overlap there on those
right.
two. So as opposed to something that's totally
and now we see things too. I see terms thrown about. There's OSR adjacent. There's new OSR, right? The NU-OSR. Then you get the OS vibes, that the young hip kids are referring to. And at the end of the day, it's like we can categorize and subcategorize this stuff all day long and compartmentalize things. And it's like a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche, and do that. But at the end of the day, isn't it all just rock and roll?
Yeah, it is. Right? And I've always been someone who's like, hey, I don't like 5th edition. I have no interest in playing 5th edition. I didn't like it from the day it came out, but
I don't hate it. I just don't have any interest in playing it.
Right. And I can't say that it doesn't function as a game system. It does. I mean, it works. You can play it, and a lot of people seem to like it. But, for me, when I think old school, I always describe AD&D or original D&D, old school D&D, as a beautiful mess, right? And that lack of clarity and just it's like there's all these things you got to dig in, like these crazy places to find every it didn't come together like, oh, we're going to design a game and we're going to put it out. It happened over time, I mean, starting with OD&D and all these things, and it came out and there were Dragon Magazine things where there's different commentaries and not rulings, but suggestions, let's say, and Gary would answer telephone calls and about rules and things that maybe someone else didn't know. It was pre-internet, you couldn't corral all that stuff, so it was just unconstrained in a way that new games aren't. And for me, that's something. I can't say that something isn't old school, but that definitely is old school, you know what I mean? But then again, the whole thing about the vibe, I don't think is untrue. You could tell the difference between playing like the superhero game you talked about and playing something like BX, where it's like it's just a real different experience. Now
Deeple says he likes 5th edition for combat, and for me, combat in 5e is way slow.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's it's well, again, I'm not a player of it, but it's famous for being slow. Yeah, it's like, well, okay, we're going to take the next 4 hours to do a combat,
And I've had that happen. Don't get me wrong. I did 3.5 and I did a half a session of 4th edition and said, this is garbage. And then actually I said, this is garbage. And why are they trying to turn D&D into WoW? That's literally what I told my wife when we tried it. I said, "This is silly."
That's what that. I mean,
that's what they were. That was their goal.
They were trying to do.
Yeah,
that's been admitted that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to simulate that sort of video game MMO stuff that was going on.
They're always chasing.
I did pick up 2nd edition in college because 2nd edition started. It was released in 1989, and I was 19 at that time, so I was in college. So I was able to get those books and hide them from my parents, who still had a lot of influence over me at that age, right?
Yeah.
And then later on, I was able to do my own thing because I lived on my own, and then over the years, I recollected a lot of the stuff that was lost. But And so I never played. I see people talking about 3rd edition, 3.5. I never played that. I have a little bit of experience with 5th edition. It's not my sort of game. If you like the combat, great. I'm glad you do. I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
And the reason why I don't is, and it's what you were talking about. You guys were talking about 4-hour combats, 3-hour combats. It's like, well, the next session is one encounter and we're going to fight it out, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, it's time for everybody to go home. I'll see you in 2 weeks or next week. And the reason for that is because of all the options.
Yeah.
People, there's this counterintuitive thing that happens in role-playing games where people think that the more options you have, that means you're expanding the limits of the game. You can do more, when in fact the opposite is true.
Absolutely. I was going to say, the more options printed in the book,
the more rules there are
you actually have.
It's like anything. The more highly regulated something becomes, meaning there's more rules.
Yep.
It looks like you have more options, but you really have fewer options.
Yeah, you're building walls, really.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you're doing, which is why the old school OD&D started off with 2 classes. You were a fighting man or you were a magic user. And that was it. Clerics didn't exist at that time.
And sorcerers were what, 12th level magic, 9th level?
Yeah, they had
something like that.
Yeah, they had the names of the rankings, and it didn't really mean anything. As far as the mechanics of the rules go, this guy can cast spells, this guy can't.
That was just their title.
Right.
So
it was that first level. It was that first level fighter being a veteran that I talked about. That was their title at first level. You're a veteran. Whereas, I don't know, superhero is like level 9 or something like that, right? But so it was, and then clerics came very shortly after that, and then thieves came even after that. And the really old school guy, I can remember back when people were like, thieves shouldn't be in the damn game. They talk about thieves back then, like a lot of people talk about tieflings now.
Isn't that strange?
But it's not. It's funny, but it's not a joke. There were people doing that back then, right?
Yeah.
Thieves. Well, these guys have skills. Why can't this isn't right? This doesn't fit. Blah,
well,
blah, blah,
not.
blah,
I mean, some people. If to me a thief, or even I don't hate the term rogue. I don't hate the term rogue.
I don't either, actually. I think it's kind of fitting in a way.
Yeah, and I think a thief is almost a subclass of a rogue. Just like an assassin could be a subclass.
In 2nd edition, they were.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's strange about the thief thing, though, because again, you mentioned the Hobbit. Well, Bilbo was a burglar, right? I mean, he wasn't really, but he was portrayed as a burglar. He
was hired as one. He was a first level burglar.
Right. And so
he had a 10% chance to move silently.
Well, he had a big racial bonus, I think, for that. But
he had the racial bonus because he was a hobbit.
Yes. Yeah. But that strikes me as strange. And I guess maybe people that, I started D&D before I started into Tolkien, myself. So there might be other people that had it was right around the same time, but other people might not have been familiar with Tolkien, because I can't imagine anybody that was familiar with The Hobbit would be like, well, a thief just doesn't have a place in this. It's a natural fit if that's your basis.
Yeah.
I can't speak to what those old guys were talking about. For me, my beginnings of the game, like a lot of people, there are people being born today and they're going to be introduced to D&D, and the tiefling's always been a thing and always will be for them.
Yeah.
But
the thief has always been a thing for me, and it always will be for me. And that's fine. But to real quick, to wrap back around to my point on this, back in the old school, so you had basically, when I started playing, there were, in the basic expert edition, not including your dwarves, elves, and your halflings, there were 4 classes you could be. 4. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
Now everyone so the natural inclination is like, man, there's only 4 choices. That really is pretty limiting on options. But the thing was, it wasn't limiting on options, because you could be a fighter, which is just a fighting guy. He wields weapons and he does melee combat, right? And he's kind of he's a big brute, and he can take some damage. He can deal some damage. That kind of guy. You could work with your dungeon master, and you could create any kind of fighter you wanted to.
Right.
You could build that guy in the way you want it. He could be a swashbuckler type. He could be a Conan type. He could be the knight in plate mail armor, Sir Lancelot type. The fighter encompasses a lot there, and the boundaries are there, but they're extremely wide and very elastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean,
but when you have 135 subclasses, which I believe is pretty close to what the count is now for 24 D&D 2024. It's right. It's like somewhere between 120 and 135 subclasses. People think that that's more options, but it's not, because if under the old way, if I was a fighter, I could work with my DM. It's like, yeah, we'll work out some weapon specialization rules, or yeah, you can do some special stuff with a bow if you want to do that. Now you've got a class specifically designed for a bow, and they can do this and this and this with a bow, which means everything else is off the table.
It's like an archer versus a ranger.
You understand what I'm saying? You know? So everything else is off the table. You're a knight in shining armor. You joust in tournaments. You uphold chivalry, and you're a defender of the crown. Well, now everything else is off the table. That's what you are. Whereas before, I could be a fighter and I could play that, but I had a lot of freedom. I had a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah.
And so it's a counterintuitive thing that more options does not equal more choices for the player. It decreases your player agency. I guarantee.
I think you're. You know, I knew where you were going when we started down this path. I'm like, yeah, he's going to say the same thing that I believe. Davina says she was playing Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. The number of classes and specialists, prestige classes, is insane. And she goes on to say, I heard it was based on 3.5. Yeah, we actually, Davina, we called Pathfinder, not Pathfinder 2, but we called Pathfinder 3.75. That's everybody I know called it that. I did not play it. I have it over on the shelf, but I tried 4th edition, and everybody hated 4th edition so much that there was a time when Paizo, when they came out with Pathfinder, took over the #1 spot. They beat Wizards of the Coast. They beat Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, they had more market share than Wizards of the Coast did at
which is
specifically in the role playing game market.
Yeah,
not in the card game market, because Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, Magic was huge.
Yeah, they kind of disproved that whole chasing the WoW thing. Wasn't really needed.
Yeah. Well, they understood what was going on. That for those of you who are old enough to remember New Coke, it was the New Coke versus Pepsi thing, right? Pathfinder realized, hey, these guys are turning their back on their core audience that spends money.
Yeah.
And now they've got the OGL out, so we can make our own game, and we'll just call it something else. We'll change a few things. We'll leave the trademark stuff out, and boom, you got a 3.75 edition. And everybody's like, this is fantastic. This is what we wanted.
Yeah.
And so they stole consumer.
It was crunchy. It was even crunchier than 3.5 was.
Oh yeah.
And you know, and at the time when I was running 3.5 and I started off playing 3.5 or 3rd edition, really. You know, that's when I really got heavy into D&D was when 3rd edition came out, right at 26 years ago.
I got the 2nd edition stuff. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I was introduced to D&D in '85, so that was my first experience. But we were kids, we didn't know what the hell we were doing, you know.
Well, I didn't either. I mean, we were, I was 9-10 years old. I was having fun. I knew I loved the stuff. I didn't know what I was doing, and I did a lot of the things. That's another thing I could talk.
That's
about.
another thing. I'm not sure that. I think that's kind of a hallmark of old school, right? Is you really didn't know what you were doing. Like I said, a beautiful mess, right? You know.
Right.
But it was fun. It was awesome. It was to discover this stuff. It's like, oh, that exists. You could do that. I loved it.
Yeah.
Have you tried Castles and Crusades? Have you looked at that at all, Kyle?
You know what? I have not. And I got a lot of people that are pretty close to me, and at least on the internet, that really recommend it. Elven Maiden being the first and foremost. I know. Yeah,
she's Emmy's got a special class, and coming up.
She loves it. The matriarch of the Nerd Cognito Nation absolutely loves it, and she's she's in the credits now, man.
Yeah,
for the most recent publication, she wrote some stuff and they've used it. So congrats for her. She's doing great with that.
Yeah, it's coming.
She's recommended it. A lot of other people recommend it. I hear it's good, but I got a lot of the 2nd edition stuff when I was younger, and then around 90, 91, 2 things happened. I graduated college, and 2, I got married.
Yeah.
And it was that point where I was at in my life where that old it's not really a fable, the old saying about it's time to put away childish things.
Yeah.
And so that's what I thought I was doing, right? It's like, well, you know what? It's time to get a job. It's time to follow the career path, do something legit, take care of my wife, be a family man, do all these things. And it's time to, I could watch my sci-fi shows on TV. I got big into the X-Files for a while, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, move on with my life. So there's like a 20 to 25, maybe even close to 30-year hiatus that I took completely from the hobby. And then shortly before COVID, I had rotator cuff surgery because my job was very physically intense at that time. And I tore the hell out of my shoulder after 15, 20 years of doing that job. And excuse me a minute. So I had 5 months off of work, and I had an internet connection to computer, right?
Yeah.
And I discovered Geek and Sundry, and I discovered this little show called Critical Role.
Yeah.
And I started watching it. And I was like, well, you know what? This isn't exactly how I remember playing the game, but this is entertaining. They're very good entertainers. They really are. They're entertaining as hell. But they were talking about we play 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Well, I didn't even know there was a 5th edition. I didn't know there was a 3rd. Last thing I knew, there was 2nd edition, and that was it, right? I'd never heard of Pathfinder. I'd missed all this stuff. So I've spent the last few years, quickly I learned via the internet, because if you say something, somebody out there will inform you, if you mess something up. There's
you'll hear about it quickly.
Nobody's reluctant to do that. So that's all I really got to say about it. I mean, I was just going to comment that there was a hiatus in there for me. So I don't know a lot about
You're not the only one.
I don't know how the rules work and the mechanics. I mean, I know a little bit about, you can do a lot of shit in 6 seconds in that game.
But yeah,
in a combat round, right? You do you build your character right, you do 10 different things in 6 seconds. I can barely do one thing in 6 seconds in real life, right? So it's that superhero thing. You're playing the Avengers in a pseudo medieval world, and you're a tiefling or a dragonborn or an elf.
Yeah, Davina said she got burnt out on D&D after Neverwinter Nights too. So Neverwinter Nights was what got me back into D&D, back into role playing. I knew it was coming. I wanted it. I was working. I followed the forums. I was on the forum all day long. The before Neverwinter Nights came out, I wound up even being a beta tester for the original, the first Neverwinter Nights, not the whatever online one that they had back in Prodigy days or America Online or whatever. But I'm talking about the one that BioWare put out. And that's what reignited me. Of course, the thing is Neverwinter Nights didn't use the 3rd edition rule set. It used 2nd edition AD&D. So, kind of ironic that a video game was what got me back into tabletop, but because we had played, like I said, I messed around with it had to be 1st edition AD&D. 85, 86. That's about right, isn't it? 1st edition.
Yeah, because 2nd edition wasn't out yet.
That came out in 89, I think.
89 is when that was published.
So
because I bought it on launch day.
Yeah, and
because you could find them in comic book stores by then. It was big enough.
Yes, so that was my experience. Was going to the comic book store, Coliseum of Comics in Central Florida. Now it's a chain, but at the time, I think they only had a couple of stores in the Orlando area. They had like 2 stores. Now they've got stores in Orlando, all over Orlando, Kissimmee, and down Lakeland, down in Tampa area. So, big chain, right? They had one in the mall. Of course, the malls, I think, now been since demolished.
Yeah. When I was buying AD&D books, and even 2nd edition started showing up in the comic book stores, and by then the Dungeons and Dragons stuff had. But when I started playing, maybe there were comic book stores somewhere in the country that carried it. I haven't been, I hadn't gone to every comic book store, but in my experience, everything I saw, they weren't in comic book stores, because I went to several.
Yeah.
And the only place you could really find it was if you could find a wargaming store, and those were few and far between, because that's a very niche hobby. You think RPGs are niche? That was really niche stuff, right?
See,
because you're talking about the historical wargamer type, the guys that reenact, Napoleonic battles and Agincourt and stuff like that, and traditional bookstores. That was the other thing. Walden Books was B. Dalton. Was the other one that was in Barnes and Noble, malls a lot.
Walden, but a lot of Walden Books, yeah.
Yeah, well, Barnes and Noble didn't even exist when I was in bookstores. Like Walden Books was the place. If you couldn't find it at the wargaming store, you went to Walden Books in the mall, and that's where you got your D&D stuff.
I spent a lot of time in Walden Books perusing the Dragonlance Adventures book and the Unearthed Arcana. Couldn't afford them, but spent time reading them there.
Was that? I mean, when did they start shrink wrapping a lot of books?
The modules were shrink wrapped for me early 80s, because I can remember buying them in the mall, and they were shrink wrapped then. It was that real flimsy, thin. It wasn't like high quality stuff, but they were shrink wrapped, definitely.
I think most of the modules had the cover was a separate piece, right?
The cover was a separate piece because you could almost use it like a Dungeon Master screen. It would fold out, and you could set up. Here's your map,
and it had the map. Yeah,
that was the map of everything you
needed
right
the
there.
Blue, in the blue ink, the non.
Oh, I love the blue ink, man. It's classic.
Copy protected. That was their copy protection back in the day, so you couldn't make a copy of the map.
Right. That's exactly what it was. Which I didn't know that at the time. I just thought, oh wow, it's cool, and it's graph. That's awesome. But they shrink wrap the soft covers. And the box sets, but the hardcover books, like if you went out and bought an AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide, DMG, that wasn't shrink wrap. Yeah, not my experience anyway. I never saw that.
I mean, I remember what was it? The Book of Vile Darkness. That one was shrink wrapped.
Well, that's third edition, so that was years later. I can imagine they would be.
But that was the first. That was the first D&D book I ever saw shrink wrapped, and it had a warning label on it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? And then, of course, the Book of Exalted Deeds did as well. But can you imagine Wizards of the Coast putting something like that out today?
No, they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
not the way, not that product the way it is.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean,
I could see him stealing the title and sticking it on there, and then you get into it. There's nothing vile about it. There's certainly not much. Yeah, there's nothing vile about it. And there's not a lot of darkness. I could see that happening.
Yeah,
because they've done that.
The book of moderate acts.
You can go back to early 5th edition and look at Tomb of Annihilation. There's not a whole lot of annihilation going on.
Well, what's vile darkness today? It's like you have a different opinion.
Yeah. Book of bad opinions.
You have outdated misogynistic hegemony of white males words that you're
white
using
dudes in the basement,
and you're making me mad. Yeah.
Well, there's at least 2 white dudes in a basement here on this show today.
Yeah, this is a basement. This is my basement.
This is mine. You can see.
This is not my parents' basement.
Nope, not my mom's. My mom is long since gone.
See, stereotypes about gamers is false. We have our own basements.
Yes,
and we have our own mortgages.
Oh yeah, I just paid that. Payday was Friday, and mortgage was paid. Broke again. Didn't even make it through the weekend.
Yeah, I always hate that because mine's always due on the first of the month, and it's like I get paid on. With my new job, I get paid on the 30th, right? I'm like, well, this one's already spent because it covers the mortgage, right? So,
hey, Rodney, Rodney's a buddy of mine. He lives over in Europe, and he's one of my ham radio buddies. And I just wanted to say thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate it. It's good to make sure you like and subscribe.
Yeah.
At any rate, but 73, my friend Rodney, we'll catch you. We'll catch you in a little bit. He and I became friends through another YouTube channel, and we've talked all the time on Discord, and we both help run the Discord for our ham radio channel. Mostly him now. So yeah, I've got nerdy hop. I mean, I'm the ultimate nerd. I'm an IT guy. I'm a ham radio operator, have been since I was a teenager, and
Yeah.
and D&D, tabletop stuff. So I'm in for, in for a penny, in for a pound, right?
Yeah. Well, I think maybe one of the reasons Ryan brought me on, well, first he had a spot. He needed another co-host, because at that time it was just him and Bert. But I think part of the reason was too it's in the name, Nerd Cognito. Nerds incognito.
Yeah.
And here I am. I'm this blue collar guy. And if you looked at me and hanging out with everybody else, I didn't talk about this stuff. At that time, I had enough social awareness because I had been through the phase in life where if I mentioned D&D, I got shoved into lockers and beat up.
Yeah.
In school.
Yeah.
So you very quickly learn to talk about, normal stuff, whatever that is, right?
Football,
cars,
and cars, yeah.
What's going on.
I don't know. I was a metalhead. I was a metalhead. So we were talking about Metallica and Slayer and Megadeth, Anthrax.
But you certainly didn't draw attention to the fact that you're secretly this closeted nerd.
I didn't draw attention, but a lot of them, when you get to know people and they learn about you, And
but it takes a while to get to that point, right?
Right.
You have one chance to make a good first impression, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you hide it, and you get pretty good at hiding it, and then eventually you can let it out, and people are a little bit more accepting. It's like, well, he plays Dungeons and Dragons, kind of a goofball, but
he does
he's an all right guy. He's an all right guy.
Yeah. And then of course that's like, hey, computers, man, can you hack into the school system and change my grades? That type of stuff.
Yeah.
And of course that was pre-internet, so everybody saw war games and thinks you can do miracles. It's like, I don't think there's shits online. But at any rate, nerds. Hey, speaking of nerds, we've got the biggest one there. Just dropped a line there in the chat. Sci-fi snob, and of course that show.
My other boss.
Your other boss. Yeah, that show is coming up at the top of the hour, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Yeah, coming up pretty quick. And of course, he is the main force behind this whole Babylon 5 thing. So his Sci-Fi Snobs channel, and we'll bring up the whole 28th again at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We've got Peter Jurasik coming on, so that's going to be pretty awesome. So since
that is pretty awesome. That's a big name, man.
That is good. Yeah. And you look at his IMDb, and it's like, wow. Of course, Tron and Babylon 5, but there was just a ton of stuff he was in. So,
yeah.
Well, okay. Let me, if I may, about the new golden age of old school tabletop. It seems like, and again, I'm not making a knock on Shadow Dark, but it clearly said, hey, this OSR thing, people are interested in this, right? And then a game. She produced a game that I don't want to say played to, but served that market. That people were interested in this thing, and like you said, it's a lot of modern mechanics and such, but it with an old school feel, kind of advertising that and going for that, I think, and it's a huge hit, right?
Yeah.
But of course, there are many others. Like you mentioned, the actual original OSR, which is really just reprinting the original games, like
OSE and
OSE is
OSE is a perfect example of that.
Right, they're literally just reformatting BX, trying to change nothing really, or trying to change very little, and then presenting that. And there's many others too, right? There's all kinds of them. So is it okay? So it's some people say, well, okay, it's a golden age. There's a wealth of things to choose from. You got all this stuff and it's all great. And of course, as role players, many of us fall in the trap of wanting all of those things. And other people might say, well, this is a glut. Now it's like this is the new hot thing. You're right, and take a cynical view of it. I personally think, hey, great. What matters to me is what I play at my table, and if I'm satisfied with it, then that's all I really care about. And what anyone else does, I really don't care. What they want to do. But what do you think? Is the whole OSR thing just a different fad? A different segment of the role playing fad, or is this a return to is it a renaissance where we're getting back to the the real thing? I don't know that I have an opinion on that, which it really is. I think having all these choices is good. That's basically where I come from. But
yeah.
Is that for me?
Sure.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a call.
Well, I just want to be clear. I didn't want to interrupt Jeff. I've been interrupting people too much.
No, man.
You're the guest.
You're the guest. So yeah.
I have trouble with the words golden age, but here's what I will say is this. Kelsey understood that there was an underserved market. She understood, and it's something that WotC didn't see, and it's something a lot of the old school indie publishers didn't see, most of them anyway, that there was a real desire because a lot of people like me who never left the hobby and grew up and they're my age now, they're playing 5th edition. They every time, it was like me. I was an AD&D 1st edition guy. 2nd edition comes out, I migrate over, right? They kept going. They migrated to 3rd. They migrated to 4th. They may have hated it, and then they discovered Pathfinder, and then 5th edition comes out. They migrate to that. So she understood that there was a need in the market, or at least a desire in the market, for these guys to be like, we want to be able to use 5th edition because we like it, and that's what we're invested in now, and everybody's learned the rules. We don't want to have to go back, and we don't want to go backwards, and we don't want to learn a new rule system. But they still want that old school experience with it, because they don't necessarily they don't want to play Radiant Citadel.
Oh God, no.
They want to delve deep into dungeons. They don't want to be a dwarven baker or a friendly orc,
with
master or whatever. They want to play. They want
each other's arms.
they want to get treasure, and they want to slay dragons, and they want to do these things. And she understood that market exists, and it was completely underserved. Mm-hmm. Because the old school guys were going straight old school. Well, it's BX, but this one
I started with OD&D, and I'm going to stick with OD&D or whatever.
Right, this is BX, but I've got a new skill system for thieves. Okay, great, and which is fantastic, and there's people that like that. But that doesn't appeal to that segment of the market either. Right. And the second thing that happened was, so one, she's brilliant, she's a genius, and she understands her market, and probably had a better understanding of market than any corporate person at WotC ever did. The second thing that happened was it was a perfect time. She got very lucky on timing.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, the OGL scandal happened
right as she was getting ready to launch. And
it was 3 weeks before she was launching her Kickstarter, and she was like, she didn't even, and I've seen her interviewed. She commented on the fact in Lord Mattias' stream once. She was in the chat one night when we were talking about Shadow Dark, and she said, I didn't know if I was going to be able to put this game out or not. She was like, years of work was like disappearing before my eyes. And then fortunately it worked itself out. She released that game. So there was a huge segment of the market at that time who were WotC consumers who had a really bad taste in their mouth for things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they were like, well, you know what? Maybe we should go back and play some old games. And then this thing comes out. Wait a minute. We can still play 5th edition, but we can get that old school feel to it. And so it was a perfect storm of circumstances for her, and it really just absolutely rocketed her into the stratosphere.
And you almost kind of feel bad for like Trollord Games.
They kind of got overlooked, right?
Well, and the thing is that they kind of kicked off what became the OSR. The whole reason why Old School Essentials came out was because the guys that started that didn't like everything that Trollord had put into Castles.
Right. That's Necrotic Gnome, wasn't it?
Necrotic Gnome. Yeah. So they went and they're like, well, we're just going to do our own thing. And that's what became OSE. And the thing is Castles and Crusades is, everybody's like, oh, well, it came out of 3rd edition. No. It came out because of 3rd edition. Stephen Chenault and Davis and Matt Golden, I think it is. They did not like. Stephen hated 3rd edition. He did not want to play 3rd edition. He thought it was too much, and so he and Mac, and he talked to Mac, and I guess they came up with the Siege engine and stuff like that. So it's got modern mechanics, if you will. But very much has the old school feel. I played in a Patreon game with Chuck Cumbo, who's works for Troll Lord. He's actually at Page this weekend, as I think all the rest of the trolls are. But my little 4 hit point wizard. I mean, what does that sound like? Because you sure as heck don't have a 4 hit point wizard in 5th edition. So,
right.
But
well,
so is it OSR? No, not under the strictest definitions. I think that's where Tenkar likes to call it proto OSR or OSR adjacent.
Yeah, and see, everybody's trying to use these terms to get them out of trouble,
Put it in the box,
thing, and so that someone else won't yell at them and say it's not this thing.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think the old school, the movement for it can be classified into 2 categories, and I don't think there's any further need to categorize it any further than this. You either have one group which is completely reactionary, and there's like the old school was the best. This should be the status quo, and we're going to stick with the old rules. We might make minor house rules or changes here and there, but BX is where it's at, or AD&D is where it's at, and they stick there, and they don't want to progress further. They don't want to carry that further. That's your old school revival. Then you've got the group like the Castles and Crusades and the Kelsey Diones of the world who are like, I want to make a game and I want to take where it started and move it forward and actually progress and go in a direction and get some movement. And we're not going back and saying it has to be the status quo. We're saying we can still progress, but still keep the same values that the old school had. And so that's the second part. And that would be your old school Renaissance. Yeah, actually, in a way, right? Yeah, I mean that's how I would look at that. But to get to the point of whether or not we're in a golden age, or if the golden age, I think maybe there was a golden age for a very brief time. I don't know if I'd call it was more like a silver age, because the golden age of the OS was 1982.
Okay,
sure.
Okay,
it's still okay. So you say, well, that wasn't an old. That was it's old school. I mean, that's the origins of it, right? This is more of a silver age or a sort of neo. Golden age in a way.
Golden age,
and so then I think that there has been that to a brief time, but I really think it's played out because everybody and their dog writes their own system now.
Yeah,
you can go on Drive-Thru RPG, and there are more systems than one person can humanly buy.
Yeah,
I've tried.
And there's the big names that everybody's heard of. There's a few smaller ones that a lot of people have heard of. And
Hyperborea is really big right now.
And then you got Joe Bob Smith, who put out a game, and him and his 5 buddies play it, and they all bought a copy, and that's all it's ever sold.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything in between. So you get this huge spectrum of success to basically, complete obscurity. But there's a million of them.
Yeah.
And honestly, if we want to continue the strength of this sort of OSR, whether it's a Renaissance or a revival, in either point of view, then the way forward, in my opinion, is expansion product settings and adventures.
I was just getting ready to bring that up. I said, I think there's a lot of systems out there. There may be a glut of different systems out there.
There's a glut. The signal to noise is just white noise at this point.
Yeah.
The odds of me writing a book, because I was like, oh yeah, I'll write a system too. Everybody else is doing it. And then I realized the odds of me ever getting noticed,
right?
Even if I promote the hell out of it on Twitter, the odds of it getting noticed are slim, and the odds of somebody buying it are even slimmer.
Yeah. I think you look at what is it? Was it Gods of the Forbidden North?
Yes.
I mean that. I want to buy it, man, and I don't want the drive-through version. I want the deluxe, the one right straight from them. I was looking at it. I'm like, because you can get it on drive-through and it's like $60 or whatever for the first volume and the second volume. You can get, and I'm talking about physical books because I want a physical book plus the PDF. I don't want just digital. But
I see Davina in the chat talking about the Kickstarter thing. I have some thoughts on that too. I think we're in for a rude awakening, if not in 2026. I think early 2027. I think you're going to see this crowdfunding for RPG projects. I think that's going to collapse.
Do you really?
I do. I think there's too many people doing it. People don't have the money. There's a lot of people in economic hardship right now, regardless of whether or not we can argue whether things are turning around or not. That's not the point. Bottom line is people don't have the discretionary funds, and they're making tough choices on what they do buy when they buy something for enjoyment, something for entertainment. They're making very difficult choices right now because, like we talked about it, when we got the mortgage and the paycheck's gone, and we've got a few bucks left, and it's got to carry us through the next week or two. We're probably not going out and pledging
it's $150
to get the wood grain box set of Project XYZ.
And not only that, the need isn't there. I mean, I have way more games than I play, right? I literally don't ever need another one in my life. I want them maybe, but I can have an absolute blast with things I've bought 30 years ago, and everybody's the same way if they really think about it. So it's, you cut the fat, right?
Right.
So it's but this is why this is a different subject a little bit, but I like you said, there's just you guys mentioned there's a glut of these systems.
All that stuff.
Yeah. Right. But I like these other guys that are kind of taking a different approach. It's like Full Metal Tilt, the jousting, which, we had,
Travis
right, exactly, about that, and other things like zines and things like that. There's other things you could do without and some of them are system agnostic, and so there's material you could buy for cheap, a little bit. Maybe you want a little something here or there where you don't have to go whole hog into a new thing, so some people are adapting, but I agree with you. I think that the mega thing is unlikely to happen for a lot of people.
Well, and my co-host Ryan David put out a book, Greenhaven.
Yes, he did.
The Village of Greenhaven, and you can get that print on demand on DriveThruRPG, and it's like $7 or something like that. It's cheap. The PDF's even cheaper. He occasionally runs sales on it too, and I mean, I think we're probably giving some away on Valentine's Day every year. Or that week anyway, when we do our Saturday Speakeasy show. It's a live show that's on Rumble, and we say it's exclusively on Rumble, and we don't say the other part out loud, which is what we got booted off YouTube. That's why we're exclusively on Rumble. But that, I mean, that's the truth of the matter. But we're going to be giving a bunch of stuff away from all kinds of different content creators, and they've donated a bunch of stuff. And I'm sure he'll be giving some of that away. But that's a system. It's a system agnostic setting. And that's exactly what it was part of the conversation he had when he was talking to me about it. It's like, we don't need more rules. People want things like settings and
resources.
Stuff.
Yes.
Right. Because, you're DM, you got a job, you got 2 kids, you got a wife, you got all this stuff going on. You got game night on Friday night with the, your friends are coming over, and it's beer and pretzel time, and we're going to order a couple of pizzas. And I'm running an adventure, and they're going to some village, they're traveling across the country, and I haven't had time to prep anything.
Yeah, I think
I whip out. I spend $7. Ryan David saved me. Now I have a town they can go to and do some stuff.
And it's a one shot. It's a return to the classic. It's the classic.
It's system agnostic. It doesn't matter if you're playing. It doesn't matter if you're playing OSE or BX or OD&D
or Shadow Dark or whatever,
or Shadow Dark or 5th edition or D&D 24. You can use it.
Yeah.
So there's brilliance in that too. So the other thing to do, though, what you're talking about, the Full Metal
tilt.
Yeah. That the other approach you can take is you can really dial in on a niche. You can get super niche, right? And so you're not going to get a huge market, but you're going to serve a very specific type of individual that crave that product, and they're going to buy it. So you can make money that way. So you can do one of two things. You can either kind of broaden it, make it more agnostic, make it a little bit more palatable or at least useful for a wider number of people, or you can really dial in and hone in on a core. There's 200 guys out there, and if I get my message to them and show them this product, they're all going to buy it. That's really, in my opinion, those are the two best scenarios for success. They're not the only ones, but they're the best at this point.
Yeah. I know you guys kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday. You don't think it's going to happen, I think, but we'll go ahead and rattle the hornet's cage.
yeah.
You know where I'm going.
Go ahead.
Cam probably doesn't. 6th edition. I mean, I consider the crap now 6th edition, so I don't know, you know. But 2024 is garbage as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
Some people like it. It's not
gray
everybody's
goo.
cup of.
It's gray goo.
It's not
Everything's the same.
It's not. It's yeah. I tend to agree with you, but it's not everybody's cup of tea, right? But there are people out there who love it. So good
Yeah,
for you.
I don't know anybody who's playing it, to be honest. So I know there
Ryan's
are
playing
people. Is he really?
Yeah. Did you hear that?
I did
his
hear
buddy.
that.
His buddy. I don't know if I should say his name or not, but he's got a buddy who's like, I want to run a game and we're going to play D&D. So Ryan's like, cool. Can we go back and play 2nd edition? And the guy's like, absolutely not. Because he's one of those people that started way back in the day. He's known Ryan since they were kids. Right.
Yeah.
And he's progressed with every edition. Well, 3rd edition came out. This is the game. This is the brand. It's D&D. This is the current brand. This is what we're playing. They moved to 5th. This guy moved to 2024 because this is D&D. That's his take on things. Right.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned,
Ryan was reluctant, but it's his friend, and 2, he wants to play. So he's. I mean, I never thought I'd see the day that Ryan Dave would be playing D&D.
Taking one for the team with the Sparkle Trolls, huh?
I don't know. I give him a lot of grief. I tell him that secretly he enjoys it.
Yeah.
I have to wonder if WotC is going to say this isn't worth it anymore. I'm not talking about the brand. I wrote that article a couple of years ago about this issue on Sci-Fi for Me, and I'm just wondering. We've seen them cut bait on their online stuff. It literally barely came out, and they're like, "Yeah, we're done with that." What was it called? Their VTT thing.
I forget the name of it because they kiboshed it pretty quick.
Right. But I mean, I guess what I'm saying is they've shown a pattern of willingness to do that. And I don't know if that will translate through the D&D books. I think they probably don't have a ton of interest in producing physical books at all. And I don't, it's questionable how much money they made for it, or maybe how much they lost for it. There's different reports, but none of them are solid,
And they have over 100 employees that were working on that they just cut.
Yeah,
you got to understand that WotC is owned by Hasbro, and you're talking about the biggest toy and game manufacturer publisher in the world. This is a multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation. Yeah. They have an entire staff of people who are accountants, and these accountants' their job at the end of the day is to make the numbers look good because we got to keep the stock price up.
Yeah.
Right.
So the reality doesn't have to be reflected in those numbers. They can twist the data and do. I wouldn't say twist because I don't think that they're doing anything illegal, but what they are doing is not necessarily transparent.
They group things in a way that hides whatever,
Right. And we can in this quarter we can report the sales from Baldur's Gate 3 video game and claim that under the D&D banner as revenue towards profit, but then we dump it the next quarter because we need we need this or whatever. It's all manipulation of numbers. Your average small companies and even your Troll Lord Games and stuff, they can't do that because they don't have those kinds of people on board, right?
Sure.
And they couldn't afford to do that. These guys
they're also privately held companies. They're not publicly traded.
Yeah, but I mean these guys can afford to do that, right? And they have a vested interest in doing so because of that stock price. So it gets very convoluted when you start getting into that sort of thing. I think that the success of the game is that Hasbro also has the luxury of taking a little bit more of a long-term approach to things. While they're looking at that short-term quarterly statement thing, they're also looking at long-term as like, this is a brand and we're trying to maximize the profitability of the brand, which is why for years they've been trying to transition everything into a digital market,
right? Whether
it's a VTT or video game or whatever, right? Because once you do that, then you can do subscription-based models and microtransactions.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what I'm talking about is their interest in the paper game, the pencil and paper game is not anywhere near what it used to be.
Because you can't microtransaction it and you can't do a subscription model. Once somebody buys the books, that's it. Right. They can create their own worlds. They can do their own thing. They can write their own adventures. They don't need you.
And I don't think they're going to drop the brand by any means. Some people have speculated, they're going to sell it off. It's like, no, why would
they won't sell it off? Hasbro does not have it. They do not have a track history of selling off brands.
IPs.
They collect IPs, and if it stops making money or it becomes untenable, they shelve it.
Yep.
They do not sell it. They hold on to it, and 10, 15, 20 years later, they'll try another launch and see if they can get any traction with it. That's what they do.
Yeah. And what I'm, so my view is that I think if they thought they could get away with dumping D&D, the game, the paper, the traditional game, that they would. They have angled everything, like you say, towards microtransactions and electronic and everything. Their CEO, or not their CEO, but the president of WotC was, from Microsoft. Other people, there's a lot of Microsoft people all over there.
Well, yeah, because Microsoft has been the best at doing that subscription-based microtransaction model.
Right.
Look at Windows, right? Everybody hates it, but everybody's using it.
The current CEO came from Microsoft and Zynga. What does that tell you?
Except for the Apple Elite, the Apple Elite are not using Windows, but everybody else is, right? The average person is.
Well,
as far as the financial difficulties, what Davina says, yes and no. I mean, they have, because there's, D&D 24 did not go over well. But they're not just D&D. And that's what a lot of us us nerds that are, we're into the social media and behind, we're focused on D&D, right? They've got a lot of other stuff. Monopoly Go makes them a ton of money.
Yeah. Right. But what doesn't make them money much anymore, or it's a smaller part at least, is the physical toys and things. I don't know the exact breakdown, but I'd imagine that a significant majority is in the electronic realm. It's like you said, they can make a ton of profit on Monopoly Go versus what they can make on printing books, at this point.
And then the other thing about the financial trouble is like, well, if the stock price doesn't go down, are they really in financial trouble? I mean, according to your average common investor who's out there funding their 401k or buying a mutual fund, doesn't look like it to them.
Yeah.
So it's one of those cases of where perception is sometimes greater than reality. And so as long as people are investing in the company and that stock price is stable, then by definition, regardless of whether or not something's selling, regardless of whether or not they even made any money, they're not really in financial difficulty.
It's like, well, Magic is a much bigger percentage of their sales.
Oh yeah, that Monopoly Go or their two cash cows.
And I could care less about Magic. I've never played it. Have no desire to play it. I know people that do, and they love it, and God bless them for it. I am not into cardboard crack. I've got a big enough addiction buying books.
Yeah.
I don't need something else to
we've all got enough stuff, right? I don't need to collect more things. I played a little bit of Magic back when it first came out, and that's because my friends were, and I played it for like a couple of months. I had a lot of fun with it, but then it got to the point where it was a money sink, man.
Yeah.
It was, and I was a young broke college guy or fresh out of college, right? And it was like, I can't afford to do this. I can't be going out and buying these freaking booster packs every week and stuff. And it's like, I pay all my bills. I pay all my bills, and I got $20 to get me through the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't do that.
There's one other thing about Hasbro that some people told me. They worked in board games for them, and they later became independent board game designers. But they told me, they said Hasbro doesn't look at games. They don't think of things as games. They think of everything as products.
Yeah.
So our mindset of this is a game and what that's all about is completely different than their mindset, and there might be some guys at WotC that were gamer, I think that's probably degraded over time. Obviously there were good gamers that worked there, quality designers and things at one time. Most of them, I suggest, might be gone at this point.
I think they're all gone now. I think they finally got rid of all of them.
Yeah, and the real winners that they brought in to replace them are you know.
Perkins and Merles were like the last two of the old guard.
And of course,
because Perkins cut his teeth, you know, writing articles in Dragon magazine, and Merles has
as a teenager
the resume
too.
Right.
You know,
if Merles has the resume, and now they're both gone, and I think it's
and who are they with? They're with Critical Role now. They're doing, you know,
they went to what they considered to be, you know,
the next big
thing. They looked at the marketing like, if Microsoft fires you, where do you go? Right. Well, you go to somebody else who's going to at least have a chance of paying you what you were used to making.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my point is about the product thing is that they wouldn't see it the same way we'd see it. You know, if they go, oh, what do we got these books for? What, you know, are we still making money on lunchboxes and t-shirts or whatever? Yeah. Okay. Screw it. Cut this garbage. You know, who cares?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's a product, and it's a business to them. And it's not nobody there may be a handful of people at WotC that did it or still are doing it out of love of the hobby, but Hasbro itself is like, this is a product, and can we make money on it? That's all it's. And how do you market it? Marketing is half of product.
Yeah, and those accountants you mentioned are the ones that are going to drive this decision, right? It's not the gamer.
Where are the numbers at?
The bean counters are always in control at some point along the you know, they live and die by that. I know Cam's got to go pretty soon because he's got another show to go to. But you know, it's we did not get. Yeah, Flint did send me a message saying that he wasn't going to be able to make it. They were still waiting for their food, so obviously we're gonna have to reschedule with him.
We've always got next week, right?
Yeah, okay. We've always got another chance. Sorry we didn't get you on with him, Kyle, but we do.
No, that's okay. I like Flint. I hope he enjoys his food. I'm sorry I missed him.
Yeah. But
I appreciate meeting you and having the discussion. It's I love the interesting insights from our guests.
Yeah, it was very nice to meet you, Cam.
Yeah, and like I said, I posted the link here in the that's Sci-Fi Snobs channel.
Yeah, don't advertise that clown.
Yeah, that's where you're going next. Yeah. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Let me see the Nerd Cognito link.
Nerd Cognito, just real quick, if you don't mind, I'm going to do my shameless plug.
Go ahead. No, man. Here,
Nerd Cognito, we are your source. Oh, no, don't put me by myself. No, but no, seriously, we do a few different things. The big things are we do the live Saturday Speakeasy live exclusively on Rumble every Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern. It is a no script, no agenda, no filter kind of show where we get together. Sometimes we'll talk about games. Sometimes we talk about what soups we like. You just never know what you're going to get there. It's all over the place. It is highly entertaining. We have a nice little crowd that gathers every week. And we really do mean it when we say it's the show that our audience creates. It's the show that you make. You guys are the ones that drive the content on the Saturday Speakeasy because we do a lot of interaction with our audience and things like that too. And we got a giveaway coming up on, and you must be present to win. So go ahead and check that out. Check it out before Valentine's Day and then on Valentine's Day, which actually falls on a Saturday this year. And you'll be able to, just so you kind of know what you're getting into and you'll know what to expect. But I really do think it's one of the best live shows out there, but I'm a little biased. The second thing is we've got our main show, and that drops every Tuesday, and it's more formatted. We actually have kind of an outline and a bullet point and topics of discussion, and we go through those, and it's a podcast. We're partnered with Spotify, so we would like for you to join and watch there. It is also, however, on Rumble if you want to see the video edition. Video is also available on Spotify. If you're not on Spotify and you don't like Spotify and you don't like Rumble, we're still available on every single major podcast provider.
RSS feed.
You can just look up Nerd Cognito and we're out there. We got an award from Spotify being partnered with them very recently. We are in the top 25% of all podcasts.
That's good. That's awesome.
Not just in our category, but for all podcasts. We're in the top 25% as far as total viewership. Yeah. So we must be doing something right. And so I really invite you guys to check that out. We're on Twitter. I'm not on there much anymore because of my job. You can follow me at Dying Breed Tabletop. Or Dying Breed TT. You can follow Ryan David at I Hate Ryan David. you can follow his beautiful and wonderful wife, Degen Siobhan, at Degen Siobhan.
I got to see if I'm.
Siobhan. And then always, if you don't want to follow us, at least go out and subscribe to @NerdCognito on Twitter. And that's where you'll get all the updates. Because sometimes we do surprise impromptu streams and other content releases during the week. Occasionally that happens too. So I'm proud to be a member of it. And we have our haters, we have our lovers, but don't listen to the haters. Try it before you decide.
Oh, well, yeah. You're talking about Vulture. That's okay, because you guys had Double D on the other day, didn't you?
Yeah, Saturday.
Yeah. So you
Double D, Diversity and Dragons was on the show. He joined in. He was kind of a guest host. We had a lot of fun with him.
He's a great guy. I've been following Double D for a long time.
I like him. I've known him for a while. I haven't interacted with him a whole lot, honestly, because the timing's just always been off. But finally got to talk to the guy. It was a lot of fun.
It's a shame he's got to have his assistant Harvey now handling his Twitter, though. Huh?
Yeah, Double D got Diversity and Dragons got booted on the Twitter, the X machine, and so
because he said something bad about a bad guy.
So the intern's taken over now, and now it's a double D assist or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
I followed him because it's the intern. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I'll get. Well, why not? You can get the message to him.
The intern.
Yeah. Shh. We don't know nothing.
It's the intern.
Yep. All right, and with that, Cam, I know you want to get out of here. Check out Sci-Fi Snob in about 10 minutes, 11 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't bow out already, but this is such a great conversation.
Yeah, I'm sorry to keep you late, man. Have fun tonight.
No problem. Thanks for coming. Thanks for everybody in the chat. We'll see you.
Thanks for having me.
What's the topic?
Beats me.
All right, Cam, get out of here.
All right,
Kyle, stick around for a minute, and we'll have a little after chat. And I'm going to go ahead and roll the credits now. And
thanks, guys.
Just before I do, remember everybody, Babylon 5 Retrospective, Wednesday, January 28th at 8 p.m. Going to be a special show. We're going to have Peter Jurasik on, and we're going to be multicasting on several channels, including both of the ones I'm on right now and Sci-Fi Snob, and then Madman Cuticast TV is going to do a rebroadcast following a few days later. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and throw the credits up.